favorite. Well, hi and welcome back to the Healthy Metal Hippie. Today we are here with the incredible Melanie Long. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you're here. We were just talking that we've actually known each other and been friends for 23 years this year. We met in high school in the 10th grade, I believe, in English class, and you were basically my first friend in high school. But you know what? I was always just kind of enthralled by you because you were just doing so many very cool things. You're an incredible artist, which is kind of why we're here today. Great segue. You were doing competitive Irish dancing.
Mhm.
We were playing bass.
Mhm.
We were like kind of like we were talking about the other day. We were like the punk rock girlies, and now here we are, and you are now a very successful artist living in the States, living in Tucson, and you are blowing glass and blowing everyone's mind at the same time. So thank you so much for being here today, Mel. I'm truly excited.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very excited too. And I do remember that English class very well. And we sat at the same table and we were reading Homer's The Odyssey and just giggling the entire time. We immediately had all these like inside jokes like on the first day, I remember. It was
It's
so fun.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. We did, and I remember, I don't know, like you say, just seeing all the things that you were drawing, and like still I try to draw and I can't. Like I took art too, and I mean it's my own style, but it's not what anybody would call conventionally good. And so that's why we have people like you that truly make the world a more beautiful place.
Thank you.
So when you got started, like with art and everything, did it
Mhm.
start when you were really, really young, or was it something that you got into later, or how did it go?
I definitely started when I was really, really young. I remember being in school and just kind of zoning out and doodling and drawing numbers and bubble letters that were actually animals. And yeah, I just came up with my own style a lot of the time. And it wasn't until I say probably about high school is when I really started to try like realism and push my skills. But yeah, it's always been something that I've done almost like a way of just like coping too, you know?
Yeah.
Like when things got like overwhelming or I was overstimulated, I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna.
Yeah, because it kind of just cuts through that noise that's in your head and gives you something that you can, like you say, just zoom in on.
Mhm.
You can focus and kind of lets all that stuff slide away for a minute.
Absolutely.
And does it still feel that way for you if you have moments of overwhelm or something like that, or difficult times? Is like art or painting, drawing, whatever it may be, is that your first place that you go?
It truly is. I think my most recent line of work kind of stems from when I was teaching like K-8, and it was a struggle. Like it was hard. And so I would come home and then I would just be drawing these patterns and yeah, it was like a really good calming exercise. But it's also a way like once you finish a piece and once you create something, you feel good about yourself because you can look back and see what you've made and you're like, I did that. And it's like a little boost of self-esteem. So sometimes it's like you may not like where you are, but you can see where you're going more clearly. That's how I feel about it. So
That is actually such a good way to think about it. I know I talk a lot on the podcast and just in general how I have always used writing as a tool
mhm.
to cope with like mental health things, to work through stuff, to understand myself, to understand the world, and really just use it as that own release. But it's funny because, and this other part is I talk a lot about journaling and things like that. And so in a different sort of way, but it's like you can look back on all these things that you've written and then over the years see where life has taken you, the direction that you're going to go. And it's different, but I think we all look for those kind of patterns in that direction and how things shape us.
Absolutely. I've been thinking a lot about flow and patterns and shape. My current series that I've been working on is about entropy. And so Entropy is kind of like how everything eventually divulges into chaos. But chaos isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think chaos can be really beautiful. It's like, I was just driving through the mountains around Aspen in Colorado, and there was lots of avalanche trails. And I just kept looking at them and thinking, I was like, that's entropy, and that's beautiful. So anyway.
Ooh, because right now, okay, so hold on. You started glass blowing fairly quickly after we got out of school, right?
I did, yeah. I took
And were
my first
you at
course when I was
ACAD?
15.
Okay. Oh, when you were 15, you took your first glass blowing course?
Yeah, they had a course at ACAD that was for teenagers, and I know nothing about glassblowing, and my mom signed me up, and I was like, okay, I'll do this. Like, whatever, it's the summer, I'm 15, like going to
Art.
concerts and
Yeah.
art. And I like get to the basement of ACAD, and I'm like, this is strange because it's like all these like tools, and it smells kind of like fire. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And then introductions, and they start demoing. And as a 15-year-old, I was really immature. And like some of the names for glass blowing are really immature. Like the main reheating chamber, for example, is called the glory hole. And then we have tools like jack, like you got to jack your piece off the pipe. We paddle each other's bottoms. We like paddle each other's lips. And like 15-year-old me, I was like, this is so funny. And then there was like the element of fire and danger and like strength and finesse. And I was hooked. I was like, whoa, I knew nothing about this before. And I'm in. It was also like the first time I tried an art form that I wasn't immediately good at. I was horrible at it. And I had so much fun being terrible. I was like, okay, I got to make these mistakes faster so I can do better. So
That's interesting too. And yeah, because you definitely have like a natural affinity to create, to make art. But I can see why glass blowing would be like just a whole other realm to get into. So then you studied it after school when at ACAD then? Like
I
after high
did.
school?
I did.
I'm so like, see, I am learning. Friends for so long and I'm still learning. And you know what? I have a few pieces from you. Oh, I might have had to leave one in Canada, but I had a great piece. There was like the, um, what is it? It was like fish and like, I want to say it was like a jellyfish. I'm like, oh my
The
gosh.
sea anemone.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that piece. It was it was like probably about this big.
Yeah. And so, but this is it, because you do things like you do sculpting, you sculpt from glass, basically, and you do, I guess traditional things like glasses or vases or whatever people usually have glass. But so it's not like you're a one-trick pony. You do all these kind of things now. I love how you fell in love with it, though. And I know going to Venice, I've seen like Venetian glass blowing and seen those demos, and it's like it's stunning. And you're just like, but you can see why it's like, I mean, it is. You're right. It's kind of sexy work.
It is sexy work. And like you have to be like strong and fit, but also really like delicate because the material is so receptive to any change. Kind of like the body, I suppose. Ooh.
No, but that's true. It really is though. Because like, I mean, you can have kind of just one tiny misstep and then your whole piece could be ruined, right? Or am I wrong?
Absolutely. No, completely right. Like with glass blowing, you're always turning the pipe, always keeping it on center. And like if for a moment you just have a lapse of, I don't know, awareness and your piece droops, you can get it back on center, but depending on how, if there's an internal bubble or what else is happening, sometimes it'll remain slightly off center or slightly tweaked or skewed through the entire piece. And if you're looking for like perfection and perfect symmetry, then it's ruined.
Yeah, so then it takes a lot of focus, a lot of brain power. It takes like, would you say in many ways that it is harder than like painting or drawing I mean, they're so different, right?
So different. I would say I don't want to say harder because there's some things that people do in painting and drawing that just require so much like attention and focus and finesse as well, and just like raw talent. But with glass, you can't actually touch it with your hands. And I think that makes it a little trickier because you can't touch it. And then afterwards, when you have the piece, you put it in the kiln and you won't get to see it for a whole day or more.
Right.
So there's like that adds like another layer of almost mystique and yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I was just thinking about it because I'm like, yeah, you're right. You can't touch it, obviously, because it's way
Mm-mm.
too hot. But it's like also, I was just thinking, if you're doing pottery, for example, if you got something on the wheel, then you touch that. Even if you like mess it up, you can still fix it, or
Mhm.
you can quickly, change paths or whatever. You can't do that so much with glass.
I really kind of liken it to doing like a speed run in like a side scroller game. So like the first kind of Mario's where you had to know where like each Goomba was and like the star was, and you'd have to know like, how far the distance was. So you had to like run on a little platform and jump. I'm like, that's glass blowing because you have to think ahead, but you also have to think where you're going and your speed. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so cool. I'm blown away. Who Because I mean, it's something that I would like to try. I've known a few other people that have tried it, but never have
You'll,
taken to it.
you'll have to come to Arizona and I'll give you some private lessons. It'll be fun.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Okay. That would be worth it because yeah, no, it just looks so cool. I like pottery. I can actually do that pretty decently.
Hmm.
Yay. But yeah, like my my art definitely more comes from words and like weird, like scribbly line things, but it's okay.
Well, that's
I'm
why the
just
world is so beautiful because we all have different strengths.
so when you moved down to the States,
Mhm.
what exactly brought you to the States?
So my husband is American and he's a glass artist as well. Mark Laputa is his name, very talented. And we kind of could decide anywhere we wanted to live in the States. And the reason why we chose the States over Canada is that it's just easier to find public access studios of glass, and which is what we needed, what we wanted, because we do rent studio time out of a hot shop. So we were looking at Portland, Maine, and Tucson. So very different places.
Very.
And we chose Tucson because it's a UNESCO gastronomic city. So the food here is like pretty good. Mexican food here is phenomenal. And in order to be like a UNESCO gastronomic city, it's all about like the cultural experience of the food. And again, not verbatim, but the cultural experience of the food and also heritage ingredients and locally sourced ingredients and stuff like that. It's super tasty. Also, the desert has this like kind of magical allure to it. And because it gets so hot and like everything is like prickly, that you kind of have to be a little bit like tough and a little bit gritty to thrive. But it's also so beautiful. The sunsets are incredible. And there's like a little public access studio. It's a not for profit called the Sonoran Glass School. And it's pretty small, but we're growing. I work there now pretty much full time. And we just met some of the people there and they were just so nice, no drama, really talented. And we were kind of like, yeah, this is where we want to be.
That makes me really happy. And it's no, but we were kind of talking like too when I came to the UK for the first time, I felt like I was home here.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the fact that I'm a citizen, it's like it's amazing to find somewhere that you feel that you fit and almost was like made for you. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, like, okay, England was not made for me, but I feel like it was. Not, trust me, I'm not being that entitled.
You just feel at home there. Like
Yeah,
you feel it.
yeah, and that's it. It's like the culture, the people, like all the energy, the history, everything just kind of fits nicely with me. And I've
Nice.
never felt like I fit in anywhere. And so finally being over here, I feel like I do fit. And also just like that being yourself is like it's safe and you just
Mm-hmm.
can, and in the nicest way, nobody gives a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like,
Yeah.
yes, you do that, right?
I don't know if I truly feel that way about Tucson. I feel like I've only been here for about a year and a half, but it does feel very comfortable. And I love the heat. Love it.
Good thing working with glass.
Yes. Well, that's something too. It's like it gets a little bit cold here, and I don't complain, but I wear like, pants, and I have long johns and like my toque and like a sweater and a jacket, mittens, and everyone's like, "You're from Canada. You should be able to handle the cold." I was like, "I'm a glass blower and I moved to the desert. Like I got away from the cold."
It's also so funny because everybody says to me here, like, oh, yeah, you should have no problem because you're Canadian. And I'm like, no, like it's been about 6 years. I'm British now. It is cold. Like, I think,
hmm
it's like 4 degrees Celsius. And
I don't know Fahrenheit. I haven't
oh,
converted,
good.
so
Oh, good.
yeah.
And like, I have to turn on the radiators. It's very, very cold.
4 is chilly. This morning it was 8 here, and I wore
Oh.
my jacket and a scarf. It was chilly.
Yeah, and we get tropical storms, so it's very
Really?
exciting. Yeah.
Oh.
We get
We
like
get
all we get the remnants of the hurricane. It's exciting, but
we
it
get
doesn't really
monsoons.
snow.
That's good. You'll
Yeah.
have to come for monsoon season. I think you'd really love it because it's like and the rain's like
Maybe I should.
but it's like magical. And then like we have all these like rivers and washes that actually fill up with water and sometimes giant rainbows and everything just like blows up after a rainfall. It's really incredible.
Do you take a lot of your inspiration from nature? Because like hearing about these landscapes and everything, I'm sitting here going like, oh my God, like it sounds like magic.
I think I do to a degree. I wouldn't say I'd like look at an out of an overlook and be like, I love this rock formation. Like now I'm gonna make this. But it's kind of like the elements almost. So I don't know, like I love color. I love rainbows. So whenever I see like a rainbow or a moonbow or a sundog, I always feel super inspired. And a lot of my artwork does contain a lot of color. And I guess, yeah, color is also from nature,
Maybe.
but also like characteristics. And I think a lot of my current work has to do with time, which also you see that in nature too. Like there's little clues and indicators of time passing all the time. Like you walk down, again, living in the desert, it's really sandy, but you'll see like the path of like a snake has taken or like little javelina tracks. And I'm really inspired by the passage of time and like how you can like document that.
And just
Yeah.
and and the connection of everything, it seems.
Oh, I love connection and synchronicity and serendipity and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But it's something that's special, and like if you can tap into it, I think it takes your consciousness to a whole new level. And just I mean, and I think it really can elevate your art and elevate all the work that you're doing when you just like when you can really tap into it.
Absolutely. I'm going to be thinking about that now. So thank you. I'm like, how does nature inspire me? Because it definitely does. Like the smells and yeah.
I guess
Taste.
even like, I mean, animals definitely do inspire you
Mm-hmm.
because you were like animal lover
Mm-hmm.
and you do a lot of art with animals, even like your gummy bear paperweight. And it's like, yeah, no. So I feel like it must be in there somewhere. And I was just curious. And I know that also like art is like it's part of life to start with. This is not coming out as I want it to, but it's like, okay, let me think about this. So, kind of like, just like you eat and you have to eat to live, you kind of have to, you're quite fit too, and you're very active, which is really cool. And art is also like part of that. It's like part of, you need your sunshine, you need your water, you need your food, but art is like another piece of it that you breathe to like bring that connection into your life. I just want to know like some of your rituals about everything. You seem to have like quite mindful practices as part of your life. I don't know if it's like doing yoga or meditation or these kind of things, eating healthy, all sorts of stuff. And does it influence and does it help you as an artist?
I think definitely like speaking my mind and speaking my truth does help and influence. I definitely thrive and feel best when I am able just to be myself. And if I find myself in situations that I can't be, I shed it. Like a snake would shed its skin. So I really try to avoid things that just make me uncomfortable or give me anxiety. And I think that is one of the biggest rituals I have is just like try to get away from negativity and the bullshit. Like if someone's giving me bullshit, I'm not going to take it. I'm just walk away. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, goodbye. And
Yeah.
it's setting up those boundaries too.
It's like it's quite a hard lesson for people to learn sometimes or to like just
Hmm.
get to that point where you can just, you can just walk away or you can set that boundary. Has there been anything that's like helped you do that?
Just thinking the relationship between like cause and effect. So if you like, if I don't speak my mind or if I, stay in a job or a friendship that's toxic, the outcome of that, I don't feel good. That like, when you leave a job or like leave a friendship or leave a situation that is like toxic or not healthy, it might hurt, it might sting, it might be uncomfortable in the moment, but you know, a month later you're like, "Oh, I feel so good. Like what was this?" And it's like cause and effect. Like sometimes I'll want to eat like a trashy cheeseburger or like have an extra beer when I go to a concert, but the next morning feel it and I feel tired and gross or bloated or I have indigestion and it's like, okay, cause and effect. So yeah, I do eat pretty healthy too as well, other than craving cheeseburgers from time to time.
I think from time to time you're allowed to crave a cheeseburger, just not like 3 meals a day. I
No,
mean, you could, but I mean, I wouldn't really advise that. That actually shows me that you actually have quite a strong sense of self value, self worth. You have a good self esteem, though, and you love
well, thanks.
yourself. No, but I think that I see that with like a lot of people if they've had, shit that has really impacted their self esteem, but they
Mhm.
haven't been able to kind of like jump over that fence and be like, no, I am worth it. Then it's hard to set those boundaries with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And that is the secret that you're talking about there is like boundaries that you set with yourself too, right? Like, I will not have that extra beer or eat that 16th cheeseburger today.
Mhm.
It's like, because I don't want to feel this way. Where some people, I think, do it as self punishment almost.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Because, okay, look, and it's like when you talk about like the beer and whatever, or leaving a job, or this is, I mean, honestly, I'm like, this is really interesting because I know that at times I self sabotage. Absolutely. And I think it does come from like, God, I know, I'm sorry, listeners, are probably sick of hearing about it, but it comes from trauma. I'm certain of
Mhm.
it. And and there's still things that, that I have to work through and I have been. And so it's getting better over time. But things like maybe you don't leave the job because even though they're treating you badly in some like fucked up way, you think that you deserve it.
Mm.
Or maybe you eat that, like, for me, it's going to be like an extra chocolate or like a biscuit. Yeah, biscuits. Like
Biscuit.
British biscuits, not American biscuits, like cookies. And maybe I'll eat an extra one of those, even though I know if you eat this, like, you are going to feel like shit.
Mhm.
And then I'll just be like, yeah, whatever. I'm sad and I'll do it. But this is where it's like, it shows me just how incredibly strong you are because
Oh,
you have those strong boundaries with yourself. And then again, it flows through to your relationships. If somebody is treating me like shit and I did nothing about to cause this, well, cut that relationship. Cut
Mhm.
it out, right? Was that Full House?
Full house. Yeah,
But you know what I mean though? And it's just so interesting how
absolutely.
like how we can be brutal and sabotage ourselves till like the end of days. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but
Like,
yeah.
so I mean, I think it's really cool and it's just really inspiring, because then you see how this like setting and thinking about it, like you say, in that terms of cause and effect,
Mm-hmm.
like you will be better the next day, you will be better in a week or whatever for either doing or not doing said action, right?
I think I really kind of realized that's kind of how I live and how, yeah, like I said, I live. Because when I was a school teacher, and I was a school teacher for about 12 years, and I taught grade 6 for the majority of that time. And I would always teach that lesson to my students, was cause and effect. And a long time ago, when like rate your professor, rate your teacher was like more prevalent and like I think free, I think it's a paid thing now.
Yeah.
I was reading what some of my students had said about me, which is also can be dangerous because you're like, oh, you know, it's a critique. But I'd rather people tell me what they think of me or critique me openly. You know what I mean? Because then I can respond to it or not respond or reflect. Anyway, so I was reading what some of my students said, and they're just like, Miss Long is all about cause and effect and this and that and this and that and this. And it was pretty, I wish I would have saved it, but it was pretty lovely because it really showed them that they were thinking about how their actions and about how their behavior would like affect the next day or affect what was happening. Like I had a few students who were acting out, and I'd always be like, dude, like I wouldn't say dude, but I'd be like, hey, you know, you're acting this way, so I have to do this. And like I don't want to be that person, but I have to be that person. And
Right.
I remember too, one lesson that I instilled in them was like, which is also about boundaries too, is like sometimes kids can be demanding and they can be pretty mean to their teacher. And whenever I felt that way when I was teaching in Canada, I would just look at them and then I would kind of walk out the door and I would just like sit on the bench directly outside the door. And I could still see them. I was still supervising, but I'd be like, I felt really disrespected from you guys. Like I just needed a moment to gather my thoughts. I was like, I didn't want to be disrespected anymore. So I left the situation. And the kids would get pretty like, they'd be like, and then like one kid would come over and be like, I'm really sorry. And then we'd like talk about it. But yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. But like you have to do that. And you're right. And sometimes like you kind of need to give that mirror in a way. And so they can go, yeah, that was me. That
was me.
Made that impact. Like, oops.
But you can also do that with yourself too. Because it's like, well, why do I feel terrible in the morning? And it's like, oh, well, I had that extra beer. That's me. That's on me. Oops.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? And I guess some days, fine, you're going to be like, yeah, that beer was worth it. But like when you have to get up at whatever, yeah, and hop off to your obligations. Maybe it's like
Obligations,
exactly. And it's like, I don't know, but that's actually, I just like how you check in with yourself that way, though. And it's high level of self-respect and self-love, which is, yeah, that's what we talk about a lot here. It's interesting because I think I notice it's very, you know, girl stuff, very cyclical with me. And so, but like now I can recognize it because I'm a happy person and I'm positive and, you know, I do eat well and I do this well, but I can also like burn everything around me in a matter of days. Just if I am in this, like you say, all to do with my cycle and hormones, you get in there and, oh yeah, I'll burn my whole life to the ground within 4 days. So it's like I say, over time, it's getting better because I've recognized like, oh, this happens to me. Maybe I should not be doing that. And so it is getting better, but oh my God, sometimes it's really hard. And you're just like,
how do you build yourself back up? Like, do you rise from the ashes like a beautiful phoenix? Like,
basically.
Or like, sweet. No, but really, like after you go scorched earth, like how do you pick yourself back up?
So a lot of it right now has kind of just been things like, you know what, when I am feeling that way, I need to talk to somebody. And yeah, you know what, usually it's like my mom or my sister or my boyfriend. And it's just like, I sometimes right now feel like I would like to drive off a bridge. And then I'll sit and cry. And then I'll be like, the next day, I'll be like, oh, okay. Wow, you're being like, it's nothing. And that's the worst part too, is like, there's nothing bad happening. There's nothing that's like, oh, end of the world. You just feel like, I think this is called PMDD. And yeah, but it's like to do with your cycle, and it's like, think like PMS, but it's like, if you have PMS, it's kind of like this. If you're watching the video, this is like bottom of the ocean, and then you're kind of like, and then you're like, oh yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, yeah. So it's so it's really tricky. Taking herbal supplements, making further dietary tweaks, all these kind of things are really like really helping it. But man, and so, and you know what? I've started just being like, I need to get back to like affirmations and all these things that I love. And this year, my big one is just like, yes, you can do this. Like, it's not that deep. In the words of my son, it's not that deep. I have to remind myself, like, yes, you are good enough. Yes, you can do this. It's very, very difficult some days. And even like when I feel good, like when I'm not dealing with that stuff, sometimes I think, like I said before, just old voices come creeping back, whether that's from marriage, whether that's from childhood, or whatever it may be. Or I mean, like these things come back and they hit me sometimes. They're getting quieter again over time. But it's like getting through them is like, God, it's a fucking journey and a half.
Sounds exhausting, but worth it to get through.
Yeah, no, exactly. And
but
so
I think it's important to like give yourself like grace too, and just be like, okay, well, today I feel like I'm at the bottom of the ocean drowning. Okay, this is how I am today. Okay, it won't always be like this.
And that's the key. If you are ever feeling this way, is remembering that this does not last forever. This is just, even though you are like at the bottom of the ocean, this does not last. It is so temporary. And like, and you will get through, and someone's going to get you a little, what is it for? I don't know what they're called.
Life vest?
Sure, yeah, like a life vest
ocean.
Or a pool noodle.
Yeah, they'll just hit you with a pool noodle, and you'll be like, okay.
And then you'll swim back up. Yes. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that idea. Because you will come out of it, even though when you're in that moment, you feel like you'll never ever be released from it. Like,
yeah, it's seriously. Like, well, I guess I live at the bottom of the ocean now. Better set up a tent and find food.
No, because it's like better to breathe.
It's better to breathe
and breathe. Yeah.
Just breathe
and like experience life and do all that cool stuff, right? And so and I love that you have those boundaries and those ways. Have you ever had like real shit times that you've had to like peel yourself off the ground to get through?
I think everyone has, for sure. But I think in those moments, I just really do remind myself that it won't be forever. And that, a friend once told me, like, sometimes you just got to dig deep. And if you're already digging deep, like, you just have to dig deeper. And so I really even think about, okay, well, now I'm going to like bury a burrow in the ground and like dig up, and just like really visualizing things too. So when I'm in like a low place and, not feeling great at all, a lot of my like work situations have been like pretty yuck, where I've just been like, faking it for the kids all day long. And then I would like go to the bathroom and just cry because it was so rough. Is definitely like that, where it was just like, how am I going to get out of this? And just a lot of visualization about just different, or like even visualization about like being a phoenix and just like burning up and then just like emerging as this like beautiful golden bird and like flying away, or even just like being in a chrysalid, like, a butterfly, and then just like envisioning myself just like cracking through the cocoon or the chrysalis and like emerging. And like a butterfly, once it emerges, like it's not going to fly away right away. It has to like sit there and dry its wings
It's like,
Still not ready, breathing. So I don't know. Lots of visualization, though, I think really has always helped me.
Yeah. And I guess even like maybe envisioning where you want to go just in life, like with your career
Hmm.
or with everything else, like maybe
Absolutely.
was it the same kind of like you knowing, "Oh, well, I'm not going to be like a teacher forever. I'm going to be blowing glass all day, all night and
All day, all
teaching
night.
glass." Yeah.
Yeah. That was definitely always the dream, doing art in some way and essentially being my own boss. Yeah. I do have like a boss at the glass school, but it's not the same as when I used to work. Essentially, I'd like to call it corporate education because most education, public education is corporate. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But now so you're basically kind of like part-time employed, part-time self-employed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self-employed with some additional part-time cool ass work.
Cool ass work.
Yes,
Totally.
I love
And
that.
I love what I do too. People come in and I teach them classes or we do something called make your own. So like I help them make a cup or a flower and everyone just like is just so enamored with the medium. Like that's why they're there to try it out and learn it. And I always tell them, I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm at work. Like this is so much fun to me. Like I'm happy to go to work every single day. And I know not a lot of people are blessed with that opportunity or that skill. And I feel like I really have, gone through the trenches, but at the same time, I don't feel like I deserve to have a good job that I like. It's just sometimes you have to sacrifice a lot to be happy. And like, what is your happiness worth? And for me, my happiness is worth more than money, is worth more than everything else. Because when I'm
Yeah,
happy and not stressed out, like I feel good and
I
your
think
body
money
kind of,
flows easilier.
yeah,
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 more easily,
easilier,
easilier. This is new word.
easilier. It sounds like some kind of really cool like weapon that you'd use in a fencing match. Easilier.
Yes, it's my easilier.
Yeah.
See? So yeah, you're like, I think that's true though. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would, I think, yeah, I think you're right. So physically, yes, like you say, it's not just that mental load, it's that physical load too. And yeah, everything just flows better when you're in like that happy state. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be that, "Oh, yeah, it's not like, it's not fake happiness, it's contentment.
Yeah, it's not
It's,
like Mickey Mouse happiness. Ah,
yeah,
folks. Like, I don't know.
no, it's true. You feel content and you feel, like you
Mm-hmm.
say, being yourself. It's, did you ever go through periods too that you felt like, you know, you weren't able to totally be yourself, or, kind of had those like your wings clipped and
All the time at work, like when I was a teacher, it was awful. I definitely felt like I told so many people, I was like, I feel like a bird with wings, clipped wings, or I feel just like I've lost my spirit. So that's what I said a lot towards the end of like my career as a corporate teacher. I was like, I
yeah.
lost my spirit. And a lot of my friends could see it. They're like, yeah, you don't have your spirit. You're not you. Although I do remember when I was back in Calgary and a lot of my friends were like, they moved away or they were in like long-term relationships, like really serious or just had kids. And I was really like lonely. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to yoga. And I started going to yoga like every single day. And I never felt like I fit in. I would try to talk to people before or after, and they would kind of just like, and then one of my coworkers was talking about hockey, like ice hockey. And I was like, I've always wanted to play. Like, I'm such a big fan. Yeah, I want to try. And then I went out, I just like got a bunch of gear. I like got sized wrong. So it was like all too big for me. And I got on the ice and like I could skate, but not in this big gear. And I was flopping around like a Bambi. And we get back in the change room and like I start talking to all these different women and they talked back to me and they were funny and they were honest, but they were so kind. And I was like, this is where I belong. And so I don't know. And even glassblowing too, like the sense of community in glassblowing is something I've always been drawn to where people, you have to communicate because if you don't, your piece will not turn out and you have to be critical, but it's like safe. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the difference, is like you can take criticism, I mean, or whatever, but it's the way it's delivered. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know I've been, God, all those places. I think even like
Hmm.
I talk about it with some of the moms that I know here. Like I somehow managed to become friends with like the immigrant moms here. So I was friends with like the Polish mom and
Nice.
the British, but like American mom and all these kind of things, the Jamaican
Yeah,
mom,
yeah.
whatever. I ended up being friends with them. But when we got a little bit of snow and I took Dimitri to where all the kids were sledding, the moms are all there. And I was like, hey, and they're like, and they just turned away. And I honestly, I can't believe all of that behavior. Like, just it's mind blowing. And yeah, I've been in yoga circles with people that absolutely they're like, yes, love. But then I've also been in the ones that's like, oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Or like your outfit doesn't match. Like,
Exactly.
or like, is that Matt from Walmart? It's like,
Ew.
I don't know, maybe.
Might be. Or I mean, and just like, yeah, I mean, well, we both don't have natural hair colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely now I get more like your hair's so beautiful. But yeah, you do get like people being, snooty because of that or because they wear all black. Like, how long have I
Mm-hmm.
been wearing all black? Well, at least as long as you've known me. And
Yes,
so,
can confirm.
but people go, she's that mean goth girl. I'm like, yes, okay, okay. Like, it's shocking. It's the judgment and it's the people that just want you to live in a box. And
Mm-hmm.
it's fine that they want you to, but like, you don't have to be. And
No,
we established like I'm punk rock girly, not goth girly, even though it's so funny.
it is funny. But I don't know. I try not to let other people's judgments of me or ideas of me infiltrate my thick desert skin. But
Yeah. No,
sometimes
I
it does,
know.
sometimes it doesn't.
And I think again, I used to, I'd say in high school generally gave
Hmm.
zero fucks. Like when I dressed super weird, I really
Yeah,
didn't care. And people
no,
were like,
I loved it.
you're weird. And I was like, I don't care.
I was so drawn to you. I was like, another weirdo. Can we be friends? And you're like, yeah.
Yes, we can. But it's funny because I'm like, now, for there was a while, like, and while I was in corporate, then, you have to
Hmm.
follow a dress code and, it's very much, this is not appropriate and this and this and this. And
Yeah.
so you kind of like shrink into yourself a little bit. And so
Huh?
since I left corporate, I'm like, I could be myself again. And
And it
so,
feels so good. And that's the spirit. That's getting your spirit back.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just the coolest thing ever. And, I just think if you're listening and you've been in that place, like it's totally okay to be yourself. And even
Mhm.
those few people that like say that they hate you for being yourself or dressing the way you do or doing whatever the fuck, but they really don't matter. And everybody else will actually embrace you more
Mhm.
because you are living authentically as
And
you.
people see that. People sniff it out and they're like, "Whoa, who's
Yes.
that? They have a secret. I like them.
Yeah.
They're
No,
authentic."
but it's
Yeah.
true though. I was saying to my mom the other day, like one thing I really admire about England, about the
Mhm.
UK, and even just like about Europe in general, is like, okay, I'm going to say especially in London, because obviously that's where I am, but people wear whatever they want. And I mean, I'm not just talking young people, I'm talking like everybody and people. It's just like they're so cool. So this lady came into the store that I work at part time, and she's about she's 70. She said she was 70, and
Mhm.
I, I think she was a little bit older, but it's fine. So she had like white hair.
Mhm.
Okay, she was wearing black leather pants.
Mhm.
She had like hot purple sequin bomber jacket on, like
Amazing.
bright, sparkly purple. She had bright red lipstick, cute winged eyeliner, and she had these like spiderweb clips in her hair.
Amazing.
It's so cool. I'm like, oh my God, that's me when I'm 70 or whatever.
Hmm.
And, and I see it all the time. People don't care if their shirt is see-through. They don't care if, their skirt's really short or
Hmm.
they've got boobs everywhere. It doesn't matter. If the patterns don't match, it like, or if you are in a place where you're like, wow, I'm overdressed. No, people are like just dressing what makes them happy.
Love that. I want to experience that so bad.
It is the coolest thing ever. And
Mm.
it makes me really happy. Like I said, this black sequin jacket, like I'm selling a few of them, but it's like I sent one to my mom and she's like, where am I going to wear it? And I was like, wherever you want, because I was like, you're going to be British now. You just wear what you want when you want. Evening gown to the shopping mall, do it. Like,
Do it.
because,
Cocktail dress to the zoo. Do it.
yes. Or even like, yeah, I mean, cocktail dress and like your trainers, like your
Hmm.
running shoes. Yeah. Why not?
Why
At the
not?
zoo.
The zoo. Go see the flamingos. Cute.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they are cute too.
They are so cute.
But it's, I love just that excitement, like playing and expressing yourself with your style, whether it's with your
Hmm.
hair or, your clothes or just how you present yourself, no matter what it is.
Hmm.
It's really cool.
You're really cool.
I think you're really cool.
Thanks.
Oh my God. Well, I would love to know if people want to look you up, where would the best place be to find you?
I think the best place to find me is on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is at melanie.t.long.art.
And we'll take it in the show notes. And yeah, and so can people like message you there, order from you there, maybe do all sorts of cool
Definitely.
things?
Definitely. I do take commissions, so just DM me. And if you see anything that you like, let me know. Usually if something's sold, I do put sold beside it. So yeah.
If we have anybody listening that's like getting into art
Hmm.
or trying to find their path, what would you say to them?
I would say don't lose your spirit and make mistakes faster. And any of the mistakes you do make, just know that it's just part of learning and part of growing into yourself and part of finding your spirit. So even though a mistake sounds inherently bad, don't beat yourself up about it because they're actually good. Mistakes are really good and normal. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what I'd say. You're welcome.
I'm so happy that we could have you on today.
I'm
And
so happy to be here.
it's, I'm really, it makes me so happy to see all of, your art journey, your life journey, and how you're just creating something so beautiful for yourself and for the rest of the world at the same time. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for being here, Melanie. And I can't wait till we have you back again.
Again, thank you so much. Like I've had such a fun time talking to you about my art and my processes and also just kind of about self-esteem and self-worth and hearing your story. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Love you. We'll
Love
talk to
you
you
too.
soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks. Bye.